And good afternoon, Producer Susan. Warming up for you in Pennsylvania?
Oh, I was just outside to let the dog out to go to the bathroom, and the air is just so thick, it's actually hard to breathe.
I was over at
It
a
is
friend's house.
100 degrees with a real feel of 112.
Oh, God. I was out yesterday. I tried to help a guy. He had a problem with his landscape lighting, and I'm kind of the electrical engineer around. And God, I'm bending over looking at wires, and I'm just, the sweat is just dripping off me down onto the wires. It was just awful.
Yeah, keep your dogs inside.
Yeah, it's hot. It's going to be 100 here, over 100 the next 2 days in Jersey. So
Yep.
what day is it? Since we're talking about what day it is in the heat. Well,
It
today,
is it is July 1st.
the 1st of July, we're doing this a day. We normally do this on Tuesday, but today we're doing it on Wednesday. We had some schedule conflicts, but day late, but better late than never. So let me tell you what we're going to try to get in today. Quote of the week is by Anonymous, but it's a great life lesson. It's an analogy comparing the cost of riding on the wrong train to spending your time doing things that don't bring you closer to achieving your life goals. I think it's a great analogy. It's anonymous. We'll get to it first thing. Stupidest thing I've heard all week, and I should probably spell heard correctly. Um,
Blame it on the heat.
yeah. We'll tell you which Democrat Congresswoman thinks that a piece of legislation mandating that whole milk be served in school cafeterias is racist. Can, can you ever get there from here? A federal mandate saying you're going to serve whole milk in school cafeterias is racist?
I don't understand how it's
Well,
racist.
we'll get there, and I'll tell you which congresswoman said it. And I have a clip of her saying it. Interesting thing, we have a sheriff in Nevada who is defying a judge's order by refusing to release a man who supposedly was supposed to be let out on bail, but he's been arrested 35 prior times. And the sheriff in this Nevada has said, bullshit, I'm not letting this guy back out on the street.
Good
Uh,
for him.
Good for him. We'll tell you how a man who was stranded in the Canadian wilderness uh, saved his own life by using nothing but his axe and his own ingenuity. Here's one we'll quiz you on when we get to it. We'll tell you which U.S. state has the most Costco markets and which two states have none. That'll be a little quiz for you. Since you're a Costco, you've been known to be in a Costco, right?
Yep.
Okay. We'll tell you why thousands of people in the UK and Europe are likely to die from heat this summer, and why the government in the UK is making it impossible for many residents to stay cool. We'll play a clip from Bill Maher explaining why Democrats like AOC are responsible for their party being in the minority in both houses of Congress and not in control of the White House. You know who Mr. Wonderful is, right, on Shark Tank, Kevin O'Leary?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
we have a clip from Kevin O'Leary, and he teaches a class. He teaches a business school graduate class, and he describes the moment his graduate students go from being socialists to capitalists. And our taxpayer relief chat this week is from Blue Springs, Missouri, where a homeowner awakens at 3 o'clock in the morning to find an intruder inside of his house. All right. Here's our quote of the week, life lesson. Now see if you can figure out the analogy. And here's the quote. The longer you stay on the wrong train, the more expensive it will be to get home. Now,
Yep.
what's the analogy to life?
Staying in the wrong job.
Right. Well, remember, if home is one of your life goals and you're not on the right train taking you to home, the longer you stay on that long path away from your life goal, the harder or the more
Mhm.
costly it's going to be
Yeah.
to achieve your life goal. So again, here's a quote. The longer you stay on the wrong train, the more expensive it will be to get home. And
Hmm.
just remember, so if home is one of your important life goals, make sure you're on the right train to get there. All right. So here's the stupidest thing I've heard all week. So last month, the Trump administration, and this came down through the Department of Health with, Make America Healthy Again. The Trump administration signed the Whole Milk for Healthy Kids Act. It's actually a piece of legislation passed through Congress, which focused on replacing processed, low-fat substitutes with real foods, including whole milk. But the Democrats, forever driven by their deep-seated Trump derangement syndrome, have decided that whole milk is problematic. Why? Well, according to Representative Maxine Dexter of Oregon, the push to serve whole milk is, quote, a white supremacy dog whistle. You've heard this phrase dog whistle, right? It's like a
Yeah,
secret message
I
that
just
only
don't
racist.
understand
Right.
why.
Well, let me play that. But you know what they mean by a dog whistle, right? It's like the signal to racists.
Yeah.
Well, here she is, and it's a very weak. Well, hang on, I gotta get my microphone out here. Didn't have my microphone. All right, here. It's you gotta listen carefully. It's a really short clip.
To ask for the science-based regimens, not whatever RFK Jr. is getting kickbacks on, or whatever whole milk, white supremacy, dog whistling that's happening right now.
Whole milk, white supremacy, dog whistling. I mean, is that the stupidest
I
thing?
don't understand how the two.
Well,
I
she's
don't
saying
understand the
that. Okay,
correlation.
well, many black kids are lactose intolerant. Therefore, therefore, ignoring the fact that many black kids are lactose intolerant, serving whole milk in your cafeteria. Well, if they were lactose intolerant, they weren't drinking the skim milk either.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
nobody says you have to drink the whole milk. You know, there's other choices like what's that fake orange drink they have? Um, that thing that's not really orange juice.
I was at like, yeah, orange. I think it's actually called orange drink because it's not orange
Or
juice.
they've been drinking and they're not taking away those other options or something. Hey, there's going to be whole milk available. So anyway,
I mean,
but
what is it? What are they?
well, she's
Is
saying
it
because
whole milk opposed to skim milk? Or because whole milk doctors actually recommend whole milk for children for brain development, and especially children who may be in low income families, the whole milk actually provides higher calorie for
right,
children who may be calorie deficient outside of the school.
yeah, and that's the whole reason. That's why again the name of the act was the Whole Milk for Healthy Kids Act. But
Yeah.
she says, well, no, that's because like a lot of black children are lactose intolerant, and this is a dog whistle
But again,
that
if you're lactose intolerant, like you said, they wouldn't be drinking skim milk either,
right.
or
So
chocolate milk, or strawberry milk, or any real
right.
milk products
So
for
now,
that.
if you're a Democrat infected with Trump derangement system, you're going to find racism wherever you look for it.
And I don't know the medical statistics of black children who are lactose intolerant versus white children who are lactose intolerant, but I mean, lactose intolerance in children is not super common. Usually, lactose intolerance develops as you age.
Yep. So anyway, so that's the stupidest thing I've heard all week. She's finding a way to make the whole Milk Act a piece of racist legislation. All
If
right.
anything, it benefits children, especially those children who are come from low income families.
Yes. All right. But again, she found a way to make it racist. All right. So let's go into Las Vegas, where the sheriff told the judge, "Sorry, judge, we're not releasing this guy." And here's the clip.
A legal battle is brewing between Metro Police and the Las Vegas Justice Court on whether to release a repeat offender back onto the streets.
We're talking about a man arrested dozens of times, and now Metro Police are asking the Nevada Supreme Court to step in. Fox 5's Victoria Saha joins us from the update desk to break this all down for us. Victoria?
Joshua Sanchez Lopez has been arrested 35 times, facing about 80 charges through the course of those arrests. But here's the issue. Earlier
By the way, arrested 35 times with 80 different crimes. Yeah.
this year, Justice Court Judge Eric Goodman ordered Sanchez to be released on $25,000 bail and electronic monitoring. However, Metro Sheriff Kevin McMahill asked for a court order to stop that release, citing it would be way too risky for public safety. Court records show Sanchez Lopez has been put on ankle monitor a few times before, but didn't follow the rules of the electronic monitoring program. And these are the charges Sanchez Lopez has been hit with in the last several years. Court records say in those 80 charges, he faced multiple felony convictions, including sale of controlled substance in 2023, involuntary manslaughter in 2022, firearm on a prohibited person 2021, stolen car in 2014, plus misdemeanors including domestic violence. LVMPD says Nevada law requires the sheriff to make the call before anyone is put on an ankle monitor, which is why they have now asked the state Supreme Court to make that decision on whether Sanchez Lopez can be out on electronic monitoring or side with Metro Police. We have called and asked Metro for an interview, the district attorney's office, the public defender's office, as well as Judge Eric Goodman's office for an interview to speak with us.
We can end it there, but good for the sheriff. And apparently he has some basis because it's up to, apparently I didn't realize, it's up to the sheriff to decide if he can be released with an ankle monitor. So good.
Yeah, good for him.
And he's an elected official. He's not appointed because he's a sheriff, so he gets elected by the people. So, good for the people of Nevada for electing that sheriff. All right. So let's move on to the Canadian. Now, I think you know about this one. There was a guy in Canada. He went, up some river, and it was in the fall. It was really cold, and a storm came up. I don't know if he lost his oars but something happened where he became stranded in the Saskatchewan wilderness, and he'd been stranded for days, and he only had a little bit of food. Thank goodness he had water from the river, but he survived. He had an axe with him. And what he did, he found a utility line on wooden poles, and it took him 2 days. But with his axe, he chopped down 4 utility poles, which eventually caused a power outage, which is what he was hoping for. And then the utility company sent out a helicopter to find the location because there were no roads. There was no, and the helicopter landed when they saw and they found him under his boat where he was, sheltering under. It was really cold. But how's that for ingenuity? You chop
That is
down.
pretty. I wouldn't think to chop down a telephone pole if I had access to an axe.
Yeah, and of course, the reason one doesn't do it, I don't know if you've ever seen like one snap pole.
Yeah, because they have a little bit of leeway in them. They have a little bit of give.
Yeah, well, no, the wires will hold. If you just cut one, the wires from the other pole will hold up the first one, and even in this case too. So apparently he had to cut down 4, and you know how thick a telephone pole is. So it took him 2 days to cut down, and finally, when he cut the 4th pole down, it let the wires hit the ground and short out. But that's how he saved his life, by cutting down four telephone poles.
I wonder if the electric company sent him the bill.
Well, apparently they interviewed the utility company. They said normally, they do bill people for vandalism, but in this case, it wasn't vandalism, and they were going to not charge him for the repair. All right.
Yeah. I'm glad the utility company saw the value in what his actions.
Yes. Great. Anyway, so let's move on to Costco's now. Do you have a Sam's Club card or a Costco card?
Sam's Club card, and I believe you have a Costco card.
Right. Have you been in Costco's?
Yep.
All right.
If we had one, I would have a Costco card too.
All right. So here's the first question. Which state do you think has the most Costco's, and how many do you think they have?
Oh, I'm going to say California.
You would be correct. And you think they have more than 100 or less than 100?
California is a pretty densely populated state. I'm going to go with more.
143.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Now, there are 2 states in the union that don't have any Costco's. You want to try to name one?
I want to say probably one of the northern, like one of the Dakotas.
Nope. One more guess.
Montana?
I would have thought that too, but what state is directly below Montana?
Wyoming?
Wyoming's one, and West Virginia's the other.
Oh, wow.
Neither Wyoming nor West Virginia have a Costco. All right.
Interesting.
All right. So let's move on to heat-related deaths in Europe and the UK. So now, of course, you've heard all about, quote, the heat wave in Europe.
And here now we've got the heat wave. I think the official definition, what is it? The official definition of a heat wave is 3 consecutive days of greater than 90 degrees.
You would know better than
I think that's the official definition of a heat wave.
Okay. Well, anyway, believe it or not, most of Europe and the UK, only 20% of the homes and the apartments have air conditioning. Did you know that?
They're crazy.
Crazy.
But yeah, they don't really believe in air conditioning in Europe.
And typically, because the UK is surrounded by water on all sides, they typically get, no matter which way the wind's blowing, they get an ocean breeze. But And that's why air conditioning is rare in the UK. But so far in June, the World Health Organization has reported 1,300 heat-related deaths in Europe, but that number is suspect because France alone has reported nearly 1,000 heat-related deaths
Wow.
in just the past 5 days.
Wow.
5 days,
Yeah.
1,000. Now the UK has been experiencing every year between 1,500 and 3,000 heat-related deaths per year over each of the past 5 years. Now, by comparison, the US, which has almost 5 times the population of the UK, experiences only between 1,500 and 2,300. So we have 5 times the population, and we actually experience on average fewer heat deaths than the UK. 5 times the population,
Mhm.
the same or slightly lower number of heat deaths.
That's
Now,
because Americans like their air conditioning.
as Americans, and you have it. I mean, even window use. Now, here's the kicker. Because we talked last week about how expensive electricity is in the UK and how they're buying electricity from Norway and France and how they're burning wood pellets to make electricity. Well, they haven't banned air conditioning, but they can decide who can and can't have it. So one guy lived in a second floor apartment. He put some air conditioning into his second floor apartment because it was hot. Well, I don't know, the town police or whatever came by. They came like, no, you can't. You didn't get permission. They made him rip out his air conditioning. He said, well, what about the guy on the ground floor? He has air conditioning. And their logic was, well, it's not safe for him to leave his windows open because people could climb in through his open window. But you're on the second floor and you can put a fan in your window. That's why he can have air conditioning and you can't. Can you imagine living in a country where if you went to Home Depot and brought home a window unit and put it in, the government says you can't use it? Can you imagine that type of government control?
I mean, like I said at the beginning of the show, I walked outside and the air is literally so thick, it's hard to breathe.
Yep, it's just crazy.
And from a health standpoint, not just people that have trouble breathing and asthma and all these other health conditions, but just sleeping. I keep my house reasonably cold, but I do keep the bedroom considerably colder because I need to be cold when I sleep.
Yep.
And it affects, if you can't sleep, that also affects your health.
Yeah, it does. Absolutely. So thank goodness we don't live in the UK, huh? Because in the UK, they wouldn't let you have air conditioning because they say, open your window, put a fan in the window.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why so many people are dying of heat-related issues in the UK. All right, we haven't heard anything you want to add to that?
Nope.
All right, we haven't heard from Bill Maher in a long time. And again, Bill Maher is not a conservative, but he's really angry at the Democrats. He's angry that, right now the Republicans have control of the House, they have control of the Senate, and there's a Republican in the White House. And of course, you've got a majority on the Supreme Court have been appointed by majority on the Supreme Court been appointed by Republicans, and he's really upset. And he's blaming people like AOC for that. And here's a clip of Bill Maher expressing his anger towards the Democrat Party because they are letting people like AOC steer the party. And here we go.
Yet AOC keeps defending it, saying gender is fluid, language is fluid. Yes, and Latino voters are fluid. And now there's no one to champion or defend either of them because you, with your aggressively anti-common sense agenda and exclusionary attitude, blew it. You lost everything. House, Senate, White House, Supreme Court, and left us completely unprotected and ready to be violated. Democrats have become like a royal family that, because of so much incest, has unfortunately had children who are retarded. And the same thing can happen to ideas if they are also conceived in an atmosphere of intellectual incest. Maybe take the clothespins off your noses and actually converse with the other half of the country.
So what do you think? Does he have it right that the crazies are taking charge of the Democrat Party?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. And by the way, last week we had the New York City election where 3 radical progressives, unseated incumbents. Same thing happened yesterday in Colorado that had their primary.
Yeah.
Diana DeGette was a 30-year congresswoman, 30-year Congress, so 15 terms. She was kind of a moderate Democrat. she got unseated by somebody who's even more radical than AOC.
Wow, that says a lot.
And yeah, and this young woman, she's a Democrat socialist, and I mean, she makes Mondami look like a right-wing nut job by comparison.
Wow.
So
Again, that's saying a lot
it's
because
saying a lot.
Mondani and AOC are both pretty,
Pretty out there.
yeah.
Yeah, well, this woman anyway. Anyway. It's spreading. It's spreading. All right. Let's move on here real quick. All right, let's go to Kevin O'Leary, who teaches a graduate class business. He talks about grad students and when they switch from being socialists to being capitalists. And let me see if we can find this one. There we go. Well,
socialists, all of them, until they get their first.
What we're seeing across the world at the moment is this rise in socialism in Western markets. Almost 70% of Democrats now view socialism positively, with only 40% roughly view capitalism favorably. And a staggering 62% of young Americans hold a favorable view of socialism as well. It's quite clear to me that we're on the verge of a very different type of America. Do you agree that if things continue on this trajectory, we're heading towards a more socialist America?
No, it seems every 17 to 20 years we take a dip back into socialism, longing for what the Soviet Union had or Cuba had in its heyday. And then the outcome is always the same. It doesn't work. What I find so interesting about a cohort of 23-year-olds that I teach in business classes and engineering classes, they're all socialists, all of them, until they get their first paycheck. Then they become capitalists when they see something called tax. And they wonder, wait a second, where'd half my salary go? What's this? And I say, that's tax. Now, if you want it to be 80% tax, you follow that trail that you had before I started teaching you. You were a socialist. And now what are you? Well, I can't pay 50% tax. No kidding. Well, move to Austin, move to Tennessee, move to Florida like everybody else is doing, and you'll pay 16%. I love the fact that everybody's an idealist socialist until they get their first paycheck. And that's how America works. They're also.
So what do you think about
It
that?
is amazing that, and he said we go through this cycle about every 20 years or so that we don't learn from history. We look at Cuba and North Korea and Venezuela and Russia, and we see what it did. And do we think that we can do it differently?
Well, they just didn't do it right. They didn't have the right people in charge.
They didn't do it right. It doesn't change anything. You have all these these were major powerhouses.
Yep.
Back at one point in the day, and
it fails every time. You just got to give it time. Just got to give it time. All right.
And I was looking at, my paychecks over the years the other day, and I consistently have, now granted, there's a couple extra things in there, like, parking fees and whatever, but consistently 36% of my paycheck, the difference between gross and net is always been 36% of my paycheck.
Yep, a third, right. And you're not in the top tax bracket either.
Not even close.
Right. So yeah, but some of these guys, you go to business school, you go to Wharton or Harvard and come out, and trust me, you're going to be knocking down $250,000 a year, if you come out of Wharton. So
and they're getting a lot more than 36% of their paycheck taken out.
That's what he said, half their paycheck. So
yeah.
All right. Speaking of time, how much time we got?
You have a solid 10 minutes.
All right, so let's, we haven't played why we call them taxpayer relief shots. So here's the sheriff of Santa Rosa County, Florida, explaining why we call them taxpayer relief shots. Here we go.
Somebody's breaking in your house, you're more than welcome to shoot them in Santa Rosa County. We prefer that you do, actually. Hopefully you'll save the taxpayers money.
And I haven't quoted this statistic in a long time, but if you arrest a thug for a violent crime, and of course he's not going to have enough money for his own attorney, so he gets a court-appointed attorney, and you go through a 2-week criminal trial with a court-appointed attorney and a jury and a judge and a prosecutor, it's $250,000, $200,000 at least total cost for that trial. And then to put a guy in jail, right now, if you put him in jail for 10 years, it's between $80,000 and $100,000 a year to keep a guy in jail. It's higher in places like California where they've got a union prison. The prison guards are all part of the union with state pension benefits. But again, you give a guy a criminal trial and 10 years in jail, it's $1 million flushed down the drain.
Yeah.
So that's why, and of course, the what is it? The recidivism the rate, is well over 50%, which
Yeah,
means he'll probably be
unfortunately.
back again. So that's the first million, and then if he's going to go back 2 or 3 times, you're talking over the course of his criminal lifetime, you're probably talking several $1 million. That's why
Mhm.
when the homeowner or the pedestrian who shoots and kills the thug, it saves the taxpayers money. Um, and every week, I've got half a dozen of these every single week. There was one I wasn't going to play. It was short. A woman was home alone with her child, and she hears somebody breaking in. I guess her husband was traveling on business. She hid in an upstairs closet, and the guy broke into the house, opened the closet door, and when he opened the closet door, she shot him in the head.
Mhm.
Um, and these are not rare. I don't have to look far for these things. This particular one is out of Blue Spring, Missouri. 3 o'clock in the morning. By the way, if somebody breaks in your house and you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and somebody in your bedroom, you can say, "Can you wait a minute? I just want to dial 911 and call the
Yeah.
police." Is that a viable?
Nothing good happens after midnight.
All right. So here we go. Blue Spring, Missouri, 3 a.m.
Allie, what is it that detectives are still trying to pin down here? So actually, police just took down the crime scene tape that was surrounding both of these homes here just less than half an hour ago. But I want you guys to see, you can see this dangerous building sign that the city actually just put up here on the front window of the home. Now, police tell us they were sent to this home at the intersection of Little Garden Lane and Southeast 3rd Street in Blue Springs. They say it was after the homeowner called 911 saying someone was breaking into the home. Blue Springs police say before they arrived to the house, the homeowner shot the reported suspect who police.
When seconds count, the police are minutes away. He called
Yep.
911, and before he got there, things got tense. Here we go.
They say was pronounced dead on scene. From the neighbors we've talked to so far, they tell us they don't know what they would have done if it was their home, if they were in this situation, but they say they're shocked, telling us this tends to be a quiet neighborhood.
Been here about 3 years now, so you wouldn't expect things like this happening, but I mean, it really goes to show you that it can't happen to anybody. So to just be aware of your surroundings because things are happening, unfortunately, in our community.
And that neighbor you just saw speak to us, he actually told us that he's actually going out to buy a 24/7 Ring camera because of what happened here early this morning. As for Blue Springs police, they tell us this is an ongoing and active investigation. We're live here in Blue Springs. Allie Espinosa, KCTV 5 News. Allie.
Yeah, 3 o'clock in the morning when seconds count, police are minutes away. I guess
Yeah, and those Ring cameras are great. I have them. I think you have them. And they're great for recording what's actually happening, and they may cause the casual, delinquent to maybe rethink their actions if they see one, but they don't actually stop the crime. They only record crime.
Yeah, if a
which is great, don't get me wrong, but
I mean, if a guy's got a mask on and wants to break your house, he doesn't really care that you're filming his covered face.
Yep.
So anyway, so folks, remember, you are your own first responder. And when these things happen, from the time somebody enters your house till the time something bad can happen is, typically less than 90 seconds. So you are your own first responder. And if you don't have a big dog to protect you, seriously consider getting a gun and learning how to use it. If you're not prepared to learn how to use it, please don't get a gun. But if you're going to get a gun, please take the time to get some training and practice with it regularly.
I mean, people on this show regularly see my Labrador retrievers, make a guest appearance on the show. And of course, Labrador retrievers, everybody knows that they're friendly. They're America's dog. But I got to say, at 3 o'clock in the morning, when your dog is growling, it's a little unsettling because they know something. They know somebody's outside. And he
imagine would bark at an intruder, right?
He does bark at stranger danger. He won't bark if somebody we know comes to the door, but he will bark at the stranger comes to the door. And I'll tell you, I've got solicitors come to the door, and I do not make any attempt to control him because I want people to think that yes, he's a big, bad, tough dog, even though he's really
well, good.
Just a sweetheart.
Right. All right.
He will still growl and he will still bark.
That's good. That can be a good deterrent. All right.
Yeah, I mean, that gives you seconds to get your gun out of, whatever lockbox you keep it in or drawer you keep it in. And
Well, good. Good for you. All right. Anything else you want to add before we sign off?
Nope.
All right. Well, folks, thanks for giving up the 30 minutes out of day to listen to me ramble on about the things I find of interest and importance. And I hope you found those topics as interesting and important as I did. And if so, I hope you continue to listen to the podcast in the weeks and months to come. If you want to see some of the materials and story links you heard me talk about today, give producer Susan a couple of days and you'll be able to find them on the Jerzee Joe website at jerzeejoe.com, with Jersey being spelled J-E-R as in Robert, Z as in zebra, E-E, Jerzee, jerzeejoe.com with no space. If you'd like me to send you any of those links, or you have a comment, a question, or you want to suggest a show topic, if there's something you heard about you think I should cover, just send me an email to joe@jerzeejoe.com. Again, just remember spell Jersey with a Jerzee. And if you want to get on the distribution list, you don't have to go hunt for the podcast. Send me that email to joe@jerzeejoe.com, and we will send the weekly podcast right to your email inbox. And with that, producer Susan, anything else you want to add before we
Nope.
sign off?
Stay cool, stay hydrated, keep your dogs off the pavement.
All right, and enjoy the 4th of July, and I'll talk to you next week. You
All
take
right.
care. Bye-bye.